We're good.
Okay. Welcome everyone. Let's go ahead and start the meeting. I'm going to pass the gavel off to Vice Chair Grissom.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And justice for all.
We welcome everybody. I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I will move to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Do we have any announcements for tonight? I didn't see anything on the agenda. Anybody know?
Let me pull up.
We do have announcements. I would like to congratulate up at Timberlake, our high school football team qualified for the 3A state playoffs, and they made it to the semifinals. Girls cross country are district champions and placed 6th at state. They had 3 IML All-League runners and 1 individual 3rd place finish at state. And our boys cross country are district champions and placed 3rd at state. They had 5 IML All-League runners and 2 individuals in the top 8 at state. Lakeland qualified for 4A state for the 2nd year in a row. Volleyball were the district champions and they finished 4th place. They received the 4A Sportsmanship Award, 4A Coach of the Year awarded to Kelsey Badger, 4 IEL All-League players, and 1 IEL All-League MVP. Our boys swim team are district champions and placed 2nd at state. There's the Michael Mamola state champion in the 200 and 500 freestyle. And our girls swim were the district champions. They placed 7th at state. And McKenna Mamola was the state champion and a new state record set in the 200 and 500 freestyle. So congratulations to our high school sports. That's a phenomenal.
If I could, I would just like to say congratulations to Trustee Bain, Trustee Grissom, and Trustee Thompson for your re-election, and the support that you have from our community was definitely apparent, and so super happy to have all 3 of you back on the board and continuing the work we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So now that we've covered that, I think Trustee Thompson, she covered the for a sportsmanship award for the volleyball already. So we had community donations. Did you want to share that with us, Trustee Arnold, or Superintendent Arnold, or you want me just to?
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make sure that when we have things donated to the district that's coming to the board so that you're aware, just because we've had so much community support around our schools. But this month I wanted to also highlight, we had a 5th grader at Garwood, Asher Porath, who donated $51 to the music program.
Awesome.
So I just, that was just so great to see. And then a thank you to Suzanne and John Fable, American Legion Post 154 donated $200 to our preschool program.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Lost my page here. Sorry about that. because I just lost mine. So, we will move to public input. Do we have any public input? Anita? Dupsik? I never say that name right.
Anita Dupsik, community member. Good evening, Chairman Thompson, Superintendent Arnold, and trustees. First of all, thank you for the resolution and the proclamation that you're going to be considering in support of the parents of Lakeland schools. Last week's election acknowledges that the parents of Lakeland want to be, at a minimum, informed of what is happening with their children so that they can then decide when and how to be involved. Thank you for hearing them. And then I had a comment on H4, November 2023 bill list, line 107202, Committee for Children. I read through the cards included in this purchase, which I think are to replenish an existing kit. I don't understand why money needs to be spent ostensibly teaching students what I imagine parents, teachers, and other school staff model daily. A reading of the goal and indicator columns show what are normal steps in a child's development: sympathy, empathy, listening, fair play, staying on task, etc. are all part of life in the classroom, on the playground, and at home. These behaviors aren't taught in classrooms, they are modeled daily, and then kids learn how to behave with correction if necessary. With concerns I've heard from parents about bullying are these 30-minute classroom sessions accomplishing what the organization is saying. When gender, ethnicity, second language, etc. are mentioned, that is concerning. And on the on this particular purchase, goals 1-3.28.2 and 1-3.35.5 are examples of that. I don't think that children notice differences other than to say, oh, you have darker skin than me, or maybe your hair is curly, and then carry on. What purposes does emphasizing differences have? Why aren't we celebrating what we have in common? I've mentioned before that the Committee for Children, who is the developer of this curriculum, advocate for social justice. Social emotional learning is the tip of the spear we're seeing in our culture right now, focusing on what's different between us. I believe the SEL term was removed from Lakeland's previous mission statement. We shouldn't be using curriculum that draws from that ideology. And again, I'd ask that this curriculum be removed from Lakeland's classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it, okay. All right, moving on to the financial report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I've included a summary page for you in the October financial report that pulls together how you see the budget presented to the state. So you'll see on this first page of the document that you'll have the proposed budget, all the other funds, your total proposed budget compared to actual revenue and expenses for the general fund and then all of their funds. So that pulls directly from all of the sheets behind it. It does include the beginning fund balance, which I believe our previous report did not include that on the summary page. Do you have any questions on the monthly financial report?
I did not, but I just wanted to say how appreciative I am of all of your work. And every month you just give us more and more that's beautifully laid out, easy to follow, that you can reconcile one number to another. I mean, it's just kudos to you. I'm so appreciative every time I see that. It just makes my day. So
Well, and seeing this report with the numbers that
Yes.
match what we're being
Yes.
told, it's
Yes.
like, have it in print. It's a big deal.
yeah, it's awesome. I so appreciate the job you're doing.
No problem.
I do not have any questions regarding the report as you presented. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I have one request.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's appropriate to put it in the financial report or elsewhere. But if we could get like a running list of the board approved projects, like when we've approved something that would also include the amount we've approved and the amount spent to date,
Okay.
that would be very, very helpful.
I can include that in the monthly financial follow-up,
Okay.
just to have it as a updated chart in there every month.
Thank you.
Yeah, good comment, beautiful.
I don't know if you guys have been to the website recently, but we just transitioned to the upgraded, and so now financials is a button right on the front page, and you click on it, and this document shows up for the community so that everybody gets to see it. It's very easy to find. So
Not buried in
Yes.
pages.
yeah, when the superintendent
Thank
can't find the financial documents on the website, we have trouble.
Yeah.
So it's right at the front for everybody who's looking for it.
Thank you.
That's great. Did you have any questions? You're behind me, so I can't see you if you're raising your hand. You just have to say it out loud, Michelle. You
No,
have
that's,
anything?
that's good.
Okay.
Oh, she froze.
So is
did,
it-
but I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there's on one quick question. The Board of Education. Hold on, I'm split screening here and it's like little.
Oh, was that on this one, that Board of Education? Yeah, I put notes on that.
Yeah, Board of Education. Is that our board?
Yes. That is essentially, it's in my financial follow-up,
Oh,
the
yes.
detailed information on it. But basically, that's the funds that the district has budgeted to support board operations. So travel, supplies, I believe audit services is paid out of there, things like that. It's very detailed in the financial follow-up that you also have for tonight.
Okay, so then that's where, I mean, there was a crossover. But I guess, I don't recall the board determining that it was $85,000 that would be within a board's budget that the board didn't put together. So I was just a little, caught off guard by that.
So it's part of the overall general fund budget that was approved with the budget process in June.
Yeah.
He just didn't bring
Right,
all
and
of that
respectfully, we've been asking for information, so it caught me off guard. I'm not saying there's anything wrong, I'm just trying to understand how we came to $85,000. And when I looked at the breakthrough, which I'm assuming we'll get to later on when we do the financial follow-up, something that I was a little confused on was why the clerk's wages and benefits aren't necessarily part of that. So now I'm trying to figure out, well, where's she at within the budget? Because
She's in
in
the,
all reality, I would think that she would be part of our budgeted amount, the clerk's salary and wages.
it should
But I don't
be-
know because the board did not put it together.
Right. So according to IFARM's definition, the board's salary, the board clerk's salary, and even the treasurer's salary could technically go into the Board of Education. The treasurer's salary is under business administration. And then the clerk's salary, I'll have to double check, but I believe she's under district administration. So they
Okay.
can be fixed, that can be fixed, it's easy to do. But again, not having necessarily the transparency, the in-depth details on this specific one, that's a great area to improve on in the future.
Okay, no, that sounds perfect, and I think it would behoove the board to be able to have input on their budget. So that was my only question.
Any other questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda and the action items. We have all of the meetings for July, September. There were some changes that were going to happen with September. I guess they got tabled and brought back to us. And then special meetings that we had for November. Does anybody have any questions on those?
I have a couple of little items.
Okay.
On H1, 9/11. My name is spelt wrong in the approval of the agenda. And on the public input, it says Superintendent Arnold will invite Tanya to the Parent Coalition meeting. It's not a parent coalition, it's the Parent Advisory Committee. I don't want people confusing the Facebook page that is the Parent Coalition page with our Parent Advisory Committee. And then I had on the minutes for 10/9. Item 04, the Cooper baseball field. Superintendent Arnold will be working with the city to get the property deeded over to the county. That should be to the city, not to the county. And that's it. That's all I have.
Pretty good. That
Yep.
was it. That was
Yep,
it.
that's
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any discussion on all of the minutes from the previous meetings? No? Nope.
No.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion for the minutes of the previous meetings.
Move to approve the minutes as presented and corrected.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. The minutes of the subcommittee, anybody have any input on that? Or discussion, entertain a motion?
Move to approve the minutes of the subcommittee meetings.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, the motion carries. HR items? Did anybody have any questions or anything on the HR items? We had 3 different items. The board book memo, the resignations, which obviously are privileged and confidential, and stipends for the board approval. So I had a question for the stipend for board approval. It says advanced professional in, I assume this is the end of the 8th money? Okay. So I guess my question is that, do we need to approve this? I mean, isn't this part of the salary-based apportionment, and the teacher already earned it? So it wasn't like this was something that the board budgeted for. They earned this through whatever the statute was from the state. The district says, yeah, you qualify, so then the state moves. I just was curious as why we were approving them this time, being that really it's sort of something that's out of the board's hands because it came direct.
It's an add to the contract.
Right, we're not giving it to them as part of their overall salary. So it's separate, so if at some point we can't continue to fund it this way, we're not held to whatever people can't go backwards in pay. So because it's a supplemental contract for that dollar amount, that's why it comes to the board. If you don't want.
Well, I understand that, but the board had, my point is this, is that it does come in their salary. It comes part of the salary-based apportionment, even though it is APE money, right?
If they
So,
qualify.
right, if they qualify, but that's what I'm saying is it's out of the board. It wasn't something that the board negotiated with them.
Well,
It came from the state.
No, we did, it is part of IBB.
Yeah, it is part of the negotiation.
Well, we discussed it in IBB because it wasn't being given to the teachers, although it was coming from the state because the teacher qualified. But I mean, we'll go ahead and approve them. I just was,
If you want to give direction to not bring, we just have always brought, anytime there's a supplemental contract.
right.
We've brought it to, so if you're feeling like you don't.
Yeah, the majority of those stipends are listed in the
Right.
negotiated agreement, along with the APE stipends. So
Right.
it's just, I mean, it's not necessarily that you approve them, it's just you accept them.
Right, yeah.
So,
Yep, I just wanted to make that clear because when the public reads it, this is the thing, is that it was, okay, if we're gonna say the board negotiated, what we negotiated was to give the money to the teacher that the district was afforded because the teacher qualified, that comes to the district in the salary-based apportionment. My point was the other stipends is, we do negotiate that dollar amount. This dollar amount is not negotiated by the board.
Right.
This dollar amount is basically the agreement that the district is saying, yes, this teacher meets these requirements as set forth in the statute, therefore they're entitled to these funds. So that was my only question. Okay, thank you for the
In the interest of full
clarification.
transparency.
Yes, yes.
It's here.
Right, exactly. Yep, and that's why I was like, oh, I don't remember us doing this before. And we probably did, maybe I just didn't
Yeah,
pay
we did.
attention to it. But anyways, I was paying better attention this time, I guess. So is there any other questions on the APE stipends?
I'm gonna ask Brooke a question if I may. You put a comment in there will be some additional ones as we go through the course of the year, because I noticed some imbalances in terms of the number of people getting stipends for various assignments between one school and another school. I don't want to question that, assuming that in the end that balances out somewhere or another. In other words, some schools have, 5 or 6 coaches in one sport, and then another
Right.
school only has 2.
exactly. So when I say that, we also have like street coaches that are not classified or certified, they're just coaches
Right.
that we pay during the season. So those will come up, that's where athletics is a little bit thrown off there. I think my note was about the athletic area. Does that answer your question, Trustee Jones?
Yeah.
Okay.
The other question I have, and maybe I should know the answer, but I'm assuming I don't. There are a number of hard-to-fill positions assigned to the district office.
So those would be, and they're not district office personnel, but if you talk about your school psychs, they're
Okay.
district office personnel. SLPs, they're district office personnel. Most of those are those hard to fill stipends. They're actually special education in general.
I assumed that, but it
Yeah.
wasn't clear from
Yeah.
the presentation.
Our SLPs go everywhere. Our school psychs go everywhere. We do have some consulting teachers that qualify for that as well.
I think it's good to get that information out.
There are 2 middle school basketball coaches that are listed twice.
So they, at the Lakeland Middle School, they have actually 2 basketball seasons that they split. Yeah, it's interesting. I can have, I could have Jason Bradbury or Randy Boyd comment to that, but
Do you want me to comment to it? So basically our basketball seasons are based on a 6-week season, and our 2 middle schools have a 7th grade season and then an 8th grade season. So it's 2 separate seasons. So a coach could technically coach in one season and then another, but they don't have to. So if that stipend wasn't going to that coach, it would be going to someone else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Do you have a question? I do.
Yep.
Me. I show that we're stipending for the LEA. Why are we doing that?
That's just been our practice. I actually had went back and looked at the negotiated agreement because I was talking to Jason, and I thought it was in there and it is not. So when the previous superintendent was here, she used leadership stipends that we got from the state to pay that, and then it has just continued.
Okay, but again, so we're just stipending this because it's what we've done in the past, is that correct?
Because the work, he's continued to do the work, so the stipend is continued.
But his organization is taking care of him, is it not?
They don't pay a stipend to the organization does not pay their president.
Okay, but I'm just trying to understand what, I mean, if the district has asked him to step into this role and nobody else has any involvement with it, that's one thing, but it doesn't sound like that's how the LEA is run. And it bothers me that the district is stipending the LEA when the LEA is its own thing.
Lisa?
Yes, sir.
I have a kind of I don't want to say job description, but it's a list of things that I do above and beyond contract time for the LEA and for the district. And that's the reason I could bring that. I don't have it with me. I didn't know this was going to be a topic tonight, but I could share that with anybody and have a discussion with that.
Okay, I suppose that might merit a conversation, but it does bother me that we're taking taxpayer dollars to stipend an organization that's in and of itself doing its thing. It just doesn't make any sense to me, and it never has.
Yeah, we never really looked at it as an entity by itself. It's more of a team aspect to where I can help the superintendent work throughout the district with different issues or communication or things like that, being of knowledge and interest and going and working that way. So it's more of a team approach that when it came about, that's what I was asked to do, be more involved with the district so that I could have a pulse on how the district's going. I could work with anybody, the school board, the superintendent, the district office, and go above and beyond the duties of just the regular school day, which a lot of my responsibilities come after contracted time, but for the betterment of the district. So that's how it was all presented.
The intention initially,
Okay. I don't agree with it.
right, the intention initially, when the former superintendent first came, the relationship between the LEA and the superintendent was pretty tenuous, and that was back when we would have board meetings and they all came in black. And so that the former superintendent talked to Jason, and together they put together a plan to work together to deal with issues as they came up throughout the year, so that we didn't have the discord that we were having. And so that was the impetus, and that's how we ended up with this model.
I have a couple of other questions if we're reading.
But to my knowledge, that has never been brought before the board. Go ahead. And I think Bob was talking.
Yeah, well, you froze on us, so that's why we turned around and looked at you, because you had froze. We just wondered if you wanted us to capture that screenshot.
Not a worry.
Yeah. Okay.
There are a couple of other line items that I think maybe need a little bit of explanation. One is Genesis Prep registration and one for Christian Academy registration.
So it's part of the dual credit program. The private school kids do not have access to advanced opportunities through their private school, so they have to partner with a public school in order to access those. So the stipend comes from the money that we get from our dual credit partners, NIC and NU, and it's part of the stipend that we pay.
Okay, so there's a revenue stream to cover
Yes.
those other than
Yes,
general.
that's not, yeah.
And that's my point.
Yep. We're watching that closely to make sure
did.
that it's not costing the district any money.
Good.
I have one question.
I showed. Go
ahead.
ahead, Dave.
Dave's talking.
I don't talk very much, so
That's
keep it down.
And we don't listen to you.
I'm just trying to wonder why a yearbook person gets $4,000 per yearbook, and we pay our principals $3,000. Or vice principals.
Those are principal assistants.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
so
doesn't seem right.
principals, assistants, they're not administrators, they're at the elementary level.
Yeah, but they do way more work than a
Yeah, and
yearbook
so
person.
yearbook is also, I think it's based on a percentage of how many years they've been in it. And so it's like the athletic, the longer they've been in it, I would have to go back and look at the negotiated agreement. But if you're looking, you must be looking at the high school level.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was wondering, this seemed kind of weird backwards.
So the IDB,
It's,
yeah, when we have the IDB meetings, Dave,
Yeah.
that's when all of that is decided.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you could bring it up then.
yeah.
And it is, they do a lot of, the reason for the stipend is they have to be they don't have to, but in order to get a good yearbook, they spend a lot of time doing extracurricular work.
But technically a vice principal does way more stuff. And has to deal with
It's a
way more
principal's
things.
assistant, not a
Yeah,
vice principal.
yeah.
That's
Same thing, though.
No, they're not.
They are.
No, they're not.
They deal
No,
with,
vice
they
principal
deal
and
with
a
parents. And,
Yes, they
and-
do,
Yeah,
but-
that's what I'm saying though.
Okay.
A yearbook, you're just putting together a book. A or principal's assistant has to deal with everything in the school.
Well, they're primarily administrative assistant, I thought.
Principal assistant is very similar to an assistant principal in their role, but they don't have as much authority as a, but they deal with attendance issues, they deal with parents, they deal with discipline.
And some of them don't have an admin degree yet, they're working on it, they're working towards it. It was, as Lisa can remind you guys, it started out growing your own type administrators, moving forward, getting them that type of experience and things like that. We have discussed the principal's assistant stipends. I don't think are a part of the negotiated, I know they're not a part of the negotiated agreement, and so each year I think that's increased a little bit over the past couple of years, recognizing that. But Trustee Quimby, the yearbook is a part of the negotiated agreement.
So remember in February, we're going to, as a board in executive session, we're going to start going through the negotiated agreement so that when we get to IBB, we can bring the board's list of issues that the board would like us to discuss. And we have not ever done that before. So
I'm excited for January. It's gonna be good.
So then we can talk about these kinds of things.
Is it possible to get a list very similar to this, but staff member and all of the hats they wear?
You mean how much money they make overall, or what are you
Oh no, I'm wanting to know, all of the duties, job titles, stipends assigned to
I mean, I can
each
get you something
person.
that is tied to money. As far as the job duties, and I mean, I have job descriptions and I have money. What a principal has them doing additionally.
Yeah, no, I'm not. No, I'm more.
Okay.
I'm more looking at job titles. So if they've been given
Principal assistant,
Yeah.
football coach, yearbook,
Exactly,
drama.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can do that, and I
Yeah.
mean, and I can also tie money to it.
that, would be
So are you looking at primary position and then stipended work?
I can get you that whole spreadsheet.
that would be awesome.
Okay. And it's, as you know, always moving.
Mm-hmm. Oh
depending
yeah.
on what
Yeah, no,
project
I'm
is
just
coming
asking
about.
for like a snapshot. of
Sure,
just
absolutely,
Where we're at.
I can do that.
Okay, do we have any more discussion or questions for the stipends for board approval? Do you have
I
any?
do.
You do?
There's 2 stipends for quiz. But that was a club that was approved, and our clubs are not being funded. So I'm trying to understand why we're stipending them.
So that quiz team is a competition, and it is within the negotiated agreement.
Okay.
Any more discussion?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so I will add an ending note that the 8 funds we talked about earlier actually sunset July of 2024, so we won't have that discussion about that anymore.
Right.
The 8?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it was a 5-year run that the legislators were gonna run for 5 years to see how it's going, and I guess they decided it's not anymore, so, I figured I'd just clarify one clarifying thing. Okay, there,
I think that,
That's not true.
I think that the language is actually, they had it in statute that over 5 years they were gonna increase, and then when they get to 2024, the 5th year would be done. And so those 5 rungs become part of the career ladder, so those dollar amounts stay, they just are not gonna continue to
Right.
grow.
right, the language in the statute
Yeah.
is sunsetting, yes.
Yeah, it'll be finalized.
Yeah, for the 2024. All right, if there's no more discussion on the HR items, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the HR item.
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, all in favor?
I-
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, 4 in favor, 1 opposed, motion carries. Passes. Okay, regular and special bills.
Just a comment, that very small fire that we had at Lakeland High School
Yes.
had a $200,000 repair.
It actually was a little short of $450,000.
So this is only half of it?
Yes.
You gotta be kidding.
It was covered all but our deductible by insurance,
What is our deductible?
5,000.
Okay, that was one of my questions that I written down here. So we only paid 5,000 of the 450,000?
Yeah, it was 448,000 roughly.
Yeah.
A large part of that is because the fire was in the ceiling, and so that's where all the smoke was. They had to go in and wipe down every single wire, every single pipe that was running through the ceiling to as part of the cleaning for the smoke smell. So really tedious, time consuming
For
work.
the mitigation of the smoke.
All the panels and everything.
Mhm.
was a little dink in there.
Oh, yeah.
It could have been worse.
The fire could have been a lot
Yes.
worse, but I don't think the bill could be any worse.
I
Well,
thought that too when I read it, but I didn't know 450. I saw the 250.
Well, there was one on the previous bill.
Yeah.
The fire marshal did say that if Mike had decided to go home 10 minutes later that day, we probably wouldn't have had a high school.
We should have paid Mike the 200,000.
Yeah. Match the $5,000 deductible for.
He saved the day.
Yeah.
It's good that he's observant because, you know, some people when they're going home, they're just on autopilot. And he's constantly looking at our facilities, so we were lucky.
Okay, do we have any discussion on,
I have a question
The bills.
on the bills, the bill list. The People First Administrators Retreat.
Wasn't a retreat, so that was our keynote speaker who came October 6th, whatever day that was, and the focus was on culture, and so taking care of our people, and that's just the name of his.
My next question was going to be how many administrators attended such.
The entire
Gotcha.
staff did. Yeah, it was a great day. Probably, I think the best that we've had.
Just a quick question on the Idaho State Tax Commission, the payment for a la carte and adult meal tax. We've charged that, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a pass-through.
It's a pass-through. Any payment to the tax commission is a pass-through.
Thought I remembered.
Yes.
That's all I had.
yep, I had the same questions there, but I had some more also. The door replacement, the 76,000, which doors were those?
The Lakeland Middle School doors
Oh,
are a
okay.
portion of the siding project, the additional kind of add-on that we added to that
Okay.
project.
Alright. And then there were a couple other songs, just on some of the curriculum, like the algebra, the Cengage learning, the algebra curriculum, and then, the curriculum associates, we had the writer's handbook and the iReady math curriculum. Were all those consumables or? No,
Just
okay.
extra, yeah.
Okay. I assumed, but I thought I would ask. And then we paid somebody to come clean kids' lockers. Are you serious?
They didn't clean the lockers, they cleaned the locker room.
Oh.
There are times that there are events, we weren't 100% fully staffed for custodians in the building, and so there was a small budget allotted for just that additional help to the locker rooms because custodial couldn't get to it. They've used about half of the budget, and once the budget's done, they will have to figure it out, unfortunately.
Okay, so at the high school, then it says locker cleaning, so it was locker room
It was
that
the
was
locker room,
cleaned?
yes, I apologize, I didn't
Okay.
reference,
Well,
but it was the
that's-
room, not the lockers.
Okay. Even still, okay. I mean, how many kids we have over there? They don't know how to use a scrub brush and Comet, or, I mean, where we paid $2,000 for somebody to come clean their locker room.
Because that would require them to do
The
work.
cruel and unusual punishment, is that what it is?
Probably.
Child labor.
What is that called?
I mean, you tend to take care of things if you have something invested in it, but.
And it's
okay.
not just our kids using those locker rooms, we have visiting
Right.
sports teams and things like that. So I understand where it's coming from, we're working to mitigate the issue by making sure we're fully staffed there.
Okay. And then the science curriculum, I assume that it was such a small amount. I just assume all these curriculum things on here are consumables that are being replaced.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm nodding.
There's a line on there for Carrie Paquette, for her counseling conference. Counseling spelled incorrectly. And then I had a question about the multi-health systems. It says SPED teacher / parent forms. What is that? What are the parent forms?
What line are you looking at?
That is 107243. I think that's page See if I can get, there's no page numbers, I don't know what page number.
Kelsey isn't here, but I'm wondering if that is the, you're gonna be able to answer this better than I can. It's the multi-health systems special education teacher parent forms. Are those the forms that we send home to parents to fill out when there's an eligibility, when they're asking for testing?
Or it's a Medicaid form.
Oh.
We can clarify that with.
Yeah, I was just curious what they were, like some pre-printed form or something, is that what it is that we have to purchase? Okay. And then the Rathdrum, the city of Rathdrum, 107-262, I think that's also page 2. I would assume, it says water, sewer, and SRO, but I would assume that
It's on,
that's
It's on the bill
split.
breakout.
yeah, the
Okay.
bill breakout, they broke it out for you.
Yeah.
As for the multi-health system, that's school psychologist assessment materials. So it's
Oh,
materials
okay.
for the school
So
psychologist.
it's the
It's,
width and the wide.
Okay.
but it says parent
Thank you.
forms, so is
Yeah.
that,
It must be there because he said they're giving consent to.
that's what I thought, consent to test.
And then there was, I assume this is something for welding. It says the Lincoln Electric Company Industrial Tuck Supplies, but the parenthesis is what I'm curious about, the Leading Idaho grant.
Yeah,
So-
so, that was the grant that we talked about last month. It's referenced on the budget sheet. We
Yeah.
received, I think it was 184,000.
Right.
So it's just expenses related to that. It's a reimbursement-based grant, so that fund itself looks like it's
Right.
overspent at the moment if you look at the financial report, but we will receive reimbursement for those expenditures.
Yeah, which I assume that, but I just wanted to clarify in my own brain. The hotspots, for T-Mobile, are we still using those? And if so, where are we using those?
Those are given to parents, right?
Yeah,
Students that don't
can check
have
them out.
internet at home,
Okay,
they check them
okay.
out.
Gotcha, alright. And then below that, Timberlake Middle School reimbursement for Sources of Strength grant.
I don't know anything about that, because we're not using sources of strength.
Well, we shouldn't be.
So I will follow up with
Yeah.
that. I don't know what that is.
And the other, I think we're just licensing for, so the Voyager, it's curriculum, online platform, and it could be math, reading.
It's science.
They're using the science portion of it out there, okay. And was that something that we approved that we got to look at? Okay, I don't remember with everything that's come through, okay.
It was a Tiger ticket reimbursement. We had a little bit of money left over on a grant that we received. So for that Sources of Strength grant, we had a tiny bit of money. We were reimbursing Tiger tickets.
Okay, thank you.
So that was just the remaining grant that they had gotten for
Had to
sources
be
of
the
strength.
That's my
States.
understanding.
Okay.
So that fund is fully spent.
I would have to double check that.
But we are not using sources of strength.
Yeah. The OETC, the Cloud Managed Classroom, the CMS software, I guess, that we're using.
It's the class-wise software that's used in the schools. Essentially, instructors are able to see what the students can see on their Chromebook. So
Right.
if they're viewing inappropriate material, they can shut down that Chromebook at that time. So it's just, we switched vendors and are using
Oh,
class-wise.
okay, oh, okay. Yep.
It sounds like our teachers are loving the change.
Okay, I don't have any other questions. Do you guys have any other questions?
RWC, which is vendor for transportation supplies, who or what is RWC?
You're gonna stop me on that one.
Sorry,
Let me look, okay.
it's a rather large amount, 28,000. 107,267.
I know what the RWC is. I've taken buses in there.
Yeah.
It's a mechanics place in Spokane that I think it's something beyond what our normal mechanics can do.
Yes, so this one was brakes, engine rebuild. That was the big chunk of it, was an engine rebuild.
So that's not necessarily a recurring expense.
No, it's basically we needed a new engine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Boyd.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know what our WC stands for, but I can tell you what we did there.
Mr. Boyd went out and got his CDL so
Yeah.
he could drive for
He
us.
can drive buses for us.
Okay, do we have any more discussion, questions on the regular and special bills?
Oh, wait, your audio.
Do you have, I'm sorry, what, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. We have the bus driver that quit, or is we going down to where he's just subbing every once in a while, but we did 180 in meal reimbursement? Is that accurate? Maybe he left in October?
Which line item are you looking at, Michelle?
107,311.
Thank you.
It's on page 3.
Even if they're a relief driver, they do get meal reimbursement if they're on the road for trips.
Okay, I'm just more concerned about the fact that we paid him more than anybody else that's gotten a meal stipend or meal reimbursement for bus drivers on this go, and now he's not working for us like he was. And then are we being reimbursed for the Garwood Elementary 4th grade field trip? Or is that something the district office pays for?
Are you looking,
107,327, it was for $600. Is that a building budget or is that our, I mean, where's the money coming from? And if we paid it, are we getting reimbursed?
So what we have been doing is the supplemental levy. Out of that levy, each school gets some money for field trips because the Russ Jokey lawsuit says that we can't charge fees to kids. And so the district had to absorb that. So they each have a small line item budget. It doesn't necessarily come out of supplemental levy anymore, it comes out of general fund. But we had to move away from parents paying for kids to go because we're not allowed to charge.
Okay, so is every school allocated the same amount?
They're allocated an amount based on their per pupil. So there's a dollar amount per pupil, and then depending on how many kids. So schools with larger enrollment have more money because they're transporting more kids.
So each
Okay.
building gets $65 per student, and it's split across field trips, instructional materials, and items like that. So there's a dollar amount that ties to enrollment. We worked hard to make sure that we had a justification for it this year.
Okay, but it comes out of the general fund, not the building budget.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. And then I thought we weren't doing charter buses, but it looks like we did.
Well, we met with the two ADs, and when we can, we're using yellow buses. But what Jessica brought to us was because of our fuel costs, and then we have to pay our people. It was some of the trips were we might save $500 by sending the yellow bus versus the charter bus. And then we had to take into account the wear and tear on our yellow buses to go to Boise. So If the cost is relatively the same, then we're using the charter bus to save on the wear and tear. I was surprised when she brought the worksheet to show just the total cost, and then of course you've got they can only drive for 8 hours, and so then there's an additional cost of hotel for all the athletes because they have to stop. Whereas a charter bus they'll sometimes just put 2 drivers on the charter and you don't have to do that. So it's not just the cost of the bus, but all the other parts that go into it when you're traveling.
And to clarify, that's Jessica in transportation.
Right, not Jessica. But that's the why.
Right,
So
no, I understand that.
we're looking at both.
Okay, I do understand that. However, I thought the board had made the decision we were not doing charters, so I was a bit confused as to why there were charters when we hadn't been informed of anything. So that's all.
I thought we just had a discussion that whether we were using them or not. I don't think that we had said no, we will not.
Yeah,
I think it was just kind of a discussion that we were using yellow buses because the cost was less, not that we had necessarily approved that as a board.
Because prior to that we had.
Well, I believe I believe our discussion was if the school wants to pay for the charter, that was fine, but the district was no longer paying for the charters, and that we provide the yellow buses, if I recall correctly. But I'm not 100% on that one. So the district is paying for the charter, not the school budget.
What we talked about was, because we went into that conversation thinking this yellow buses would be significantly less than the charter. And in some cases they are. Like the one I brought to the board was a $13,000 bill, and it wasn't going to cost us $13,000, so that was a yellow bus. But so the conversation that we had when Jessica kind of showed us what the rate was let's just always go with whatever's going to be least expensive for the district, and if they are the same, let's use the charter so that we're not putting the wear and tear and the miles on our yellow buses.
Might be helpful to the board's understanding that maybe in your follow-up you can provide that worksheet so they get a little better understanding of it.
Okay.
And if we could go back and look and see what that conversation was. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't believe it was an action item. I had it as just an informational item in my financial follow-up.
Okay, do we have any more discussion on the regular and special bills? Any more discussion? No. Any more discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the regular and special bills as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
She's frozen.
All in favor or
I
opposed?
said aye.
Okay.
You're frozen again.
Motion carries. 2 of 5 ayes. Okay, old business. Superintendent's follow-up.
So with regard to can I speak to the tech integration?
Yes, absolutely.
The board had asked for that job description for the tech integration specialist position, which is currently, we have somebody in that position. And so I asked Brooke, HR Director Cunningham, for the job description, and she let me know that the job description was created during the 2021 school year. The previous superintendent, rather than bringing it to the board for approval, asked Brooke to use it as a draft post for the position. That person was hired and that job description never came to the board. So it is there for you to look at, and then we will bring it as an action item. But that's why you couldn't find the job description.
Okay. Do we need to have any discussion on the superintendent's follow-up? Does anybody have any questions, thoughts?
I am interested in the draft project checklist. If you,
Okay.
we talked about that last time,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never built a building before, so I just want to make sure that we collectively, CFO looked at it to make sure that her parts were in there. Mr. Ferriola looked at it to make sure that his parts were in there, but just in case you guys have some expertise in this area, I just want to make sure that we didn't leave something off.
That's later, that also comes up in our actual, as new business action items.
Later on the agenda.
So that was the only thing I was
Okay.
wondering about.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, we can move on to the financial follow-up.
There's the Board of Education detail,
Yes.
right alongside the milk carton storage.
Yeah.
Shortage, yeah. Storage, shortage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I did go through and look at that, trying to get a better understanding of, what the expectation is as far as iFarms. So if anybody's interested, if you pull the iFarms manual, page 78, we'll go through all of what that is and isn't.
I provided a brief, very brief synopsis of that
Yeah.
on that sheet.
Yeah, I saw that, that's what made me go look, cause I did have some questions of some of the other things being that they are just, you know, operations or functions of the district, or, you know, why they would be underneath there. So one being the audit services, and what are the purchased services?
So, so far purchase services for this year have been your board book premium subscription.
Okay,
All of those are broken down in the detailed
There's
activity.
another tab that
Yeah.
goes through everything that pulls forward to the summary tab.
oh yeah, that's right, I did look at that. Yeah, I guess okay. So I had questions about what was going on there, but I don't have the other document on this machine, darn it, that I highlighted. That's fine, I can follow up with the email, I guess.
Is that only a partial payment to Hayden Ross so far?
Yes, it was another payment that was
Yeah.
processed in November for the final. Since you asked about Hayden Ross, he did notify me we have one more year on our contract with him. Most audit firms charge a lot more than what they're charging. So in the future, when we go out for bid on audit services, we would anticipate an increase in the cost to ensure that they're being fairly compensated for the work.
If we went to a different auditor?
If we stayed with them or went to a different auditor.
Oh,
Regardless.
I anticipate no matter what we do, we
Oh,
will pay
yeah.
more for audit
You know,
services in the future.
When was the last time something went down?
We're in year 4 of our, or next year's our 4th year. I know. Bob.
Sorry.
He's cracking himself up.
He is.
Okay, do we have any questions or conversation for the financial follow-up?
Looks good.
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the facilities follow-up, Mr. Ferriola, does anybody have any questions on that? No. Did you have any, no, okay. Moving on to the update for, the Timberlake High School Field House.
I guess I just have two comments. One, the project is large enough, we're gonna have to put it out to bid, correct?
Correct, yes.
Correct, yeah. The other is, just from my own experience in construction, I noticed they're using 1/2 inch, I think probably OSB, on the roof. And I would highly recommend you go to 5/8. My experience is in the first 10 years, you'll be up there redoing all the screws in that metal roofing if you use 1/2 inch. Just an observation.
Is there any more discussion on the Timberlake High School Field House?
When do we anticipate hearing back on that WGA grant? Do you know? Yeah.
I got an email today that said they received it and they're reviewing it,
Okay.
and so I'm not sure. And as far as, I'm just trying to get an initial idea of what this would cost and encompass, as a slow process. So I will pass that along, because I've been just discussing with those that will talk to us. And then some of the folks I'm waiting to hear back from, I'm hoping still this month, because if some of those bigger donors come forward, this will really take off like beginning of the new year.
Okay.
And so I'll be here a lot more with you guys, and you can ask those questions. But right now it's just kind of a waiting game. I've talked to all the major donors and they've verbally committed, but I'm not gonna celebrate until it happens.
Yeah.
Anybody have any other discussion? Any discussion on the, all right, moving
No,
on?
that's great.
Yep, I'm excited for it, actually. Any discussion or anybody have any questions on the hiring and separations reports that were presented for the HR director?
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, rezoning protocol?
So the board had asked me to just modify the language at the top of it to indicate that while this is an ideal timeline, that we may have to adjust it depending on when the need arises. So I did that, and I bolded it and underlined it so you could see the change.
Thank you.
Yeah, there was another one that you did too. Like I say, I had notes on another machine, but some of these I think are more like living documents. You know, you have a certain platform for it, but as whatever is being discussed, things are gonna change. You know, there's, the template basis will stay the same, but yeah,
I think the most critical part of this protocol is just ensuring community
Involvement and communication.
and communication, yeah.
Absolutely.
often and as early as possible.
Okay, any more discussion on the rezoning protocol? Nope, okay, moving on.
Nope, I will move to approve the rezoning protocol.
Oh,
Second.
okay, a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you, trustee Bain. Okay, to the U of I MOU. This is that, it looks like it came back much more detailed and up to date than when they first presented it to us.
Yes, and then Stacy Lawler actually has, because I pushed a little bit to know, you had asked what exactly are they going to do with the data, and so her most recent email to me was that from the U of I, the purpose of this study is to collect data on the fitness of our Idaho students, cardiovascular endurance mile run, muscular endurance curl-ups, muscular strength push-ups, and body composition. These are the fitness components of all physical education classes. Once data has been collected, they will report back with information that will help us see if there are specific needs we should address to increase fitness levels in our students. There will be no names or other identifying information collected. And then she got an additional, the long-term goal of this research project is to track patterns of fitness over time throughout the state and look for trends we observe in the data. For example, we could identify schools with consistently high fitness scores, then attempt to figure out possible explanation for these successes. The end goal is to disseminate the lessons learned to schools and teachers in Idaho around the country. We aren't at the point where we have enough schools participating to get consistent results. However, what excites me about this project is that our focus is on passing along benefits to schools in the short term by providing the training and equipment needed for testing. In the long term, we believe that disseminating the results can benefit kids, teachers, and schools. It's part of our jobs to conduct research, but I have no interest participating in research that is extractive in the sense that we at U of I benefit while schools, teachers, and kids do not. So that was the information that U of I sent back, in addition to the updated permission form and letter.
Anybody have any questions or discussion on the MOU? Do you have any questions or discussion on the IMU MOU?
Not on the MOU. It sounds though within the permission form that we're basically telling the parents whether or not you sign it, the fitness gram thing, sorry, I'm split screening and it's not working for me. That program that they're wanting to use to collect data, we're doing. So we're telling parents we're doing it anyway. And it almost feels like, I guess I just don't like the way the permission form is sort of telling the parent, you can sign or not sign, but we're doing it anyway. And I realize that the permission is to actually give the data over to U of I. At least I hope that's what it's for. But it just, the way it's worded isn't very inviting, I guess.
So we can clean that up a little bit if you want us to, Michelle. We do use FitnessGram in our PE classes, and the teachers, that's how the teachers, they take their baseline and then they can show growth. I think what I hear you saying is you want this to be more specific about giving permission to share your child's data with the University of Idaho.
Data collection.
Correct.
Okay, we can make that modification.
Also, can we use not use the abbreviation for IPLP? Not everybody knows what that is.
Yep.
I have a really hard time with abbreviations and acronyms used for stuff. Not everybody has the same lingo.
Any more discussion, questions?
Move to approve the MOU with U of I and correct information.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Was that an aye or
Yeah.
a nay?
She did.
Okay.
It was 9.
Okay.
We have a delay coming back and forth.
I'm trying to keep an eye out for you
Yeah.
so that I can help.
I can sort of
Well, I
see
am a
the
ways
flex.
away,
Yeah.
so I'm sorry.
Okay, moving on to the student club. It looks like the STEM club.
Yep, so we have a teacher at Lakeland High School who works, in addition to working for us, works for NASA. And so he has lots of contacts and guest speakers, and so he's wanting to start this STEM club.
I move to approve the STEM club.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion, questions?
No, I just noticed though that the application says 22-23 school year.
Yeah, we noticed it too, and we have to find somebody who can recreate that fillable form because the person who did it for us isn't here anymore. So somebody's got to figure out how to do that job. You can.
I had it figured out.
Excellent.
Okay, so
We will
motion and
update
a
that.
second. If there is no more discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, okay. Motion carries. Okay, on to new business. The ag education expansion at Timberlake High School.
So Mr. Eberlin and Mr. Rand and Ms. Booth are here to answer any questions the board might have. This is just for tonight, the action item is just to give permission for them to move forward with trying to get the grants that will allow them to build this building without district funds.
And the grant application will be to,
The Idaho Career Ready grant, it goes down to Woodson.
They just funded in a different school district, $4.2 million.
For the same kind of thing.
So the state has big grants to support the CTE programs.
I took a look at the drawing, I didn't note the square footage of that. Do you?
That's roughly 100 by 150.
About 10,000 square feet.
A little over 10, 11 something.
And the largest portion of that, it looks like, is kind of shop area type stuff.
So it's kind of 2 classrooms, shop, ag science.
2 lab areas, yeah.
So the idea would be we would move out of the main building to this wing, then our classrooms would all become available for other classrooms.
My question related to that is that
I was gonna open it so everybody in the
we
audience
have
can see what they're
shop space in the regular building, correct?
Yes, it's just small and then it's dual for both like woodworking and metal shop. So there's not a lot of space for the amount of students that want to do it.
Okay, and so what will happen with that space?
Revert to regular.
Board Chair Thompson, Superintendent Arnold, School Board. There's a lot to talk about here, but our vision is our shop space is inadequate and doesn't really serve. We have a lot of students that are going into the trades, and they do have K-Tech their junior, senior year, but for those students, freshman, sophomore year, not an adequate space for the amount of students that want to be in there. But what we'd like to do with that shop space is make that into our art room, because one thing on our safety report is we don't have adequate space for art, so we cram all of our kilns and all of our art supplies into a room, and then we put 30 students in there, so our shop space would be perfect for our art teachers to use.
So the existing programs would then go to the new facility as well? Okay, it's important to understand that, I think. And it appears that that's kind of a standalone
So it would connect off of what we refer to as the 300,
There'll be a breezeway.
and there's just a breezeway that would go out to the building.
Yeah, so it is really a standalone, with just a covered walkway.
A hall, it'll be a hallway.
Hallway into it.
Okay, enclosed hallway?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's your thinking?
Yep.
Okay.
We came down and talked to district leadership and they had a lot of good questions, you know, as far as future parking, future space, future classrooms. And I think we're able to answer all those questions because we've really thought through intentionally where this building would go. It's a space right now, it's a green space, and I love green space more than anybody. I want to be in the woods all the time, but it is a space I don't think could be used otherwise. Maybe
Well,
for
unless we need to add regular classrooms to the facility.
Right.
And it was designed for that
right.
originally.
And we do have, we would have 3 classrooms if this was built available. And then we have an additional classroom. We actually probably have about 5 classrooms if this happened that would be open at that point. And then we have a space in our courtyard area that also would be a good space to connect and make it a hallway and have additional 4 classrooms if we needed to continue to build on. So with this building, we would have 5 or 6 open classrooms in our main building.
As a result of building this?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is we do not have an animal science lab at all. I teach out of the classroom. It definitely, I mean, it works, but it doesn't give us any room for anything.
You don't bring the sheep and the cows?
Yeah, I could, but he says no most of the time when I say that. But I try.
There's always a killjoy, you know.
We've got some goats there, so we've started.
This actually, as we're looking at long-range planning, if we try to alleviate some of the crowding at Lakeland High School by moving our zone for Timberlake, this move frees up some classroom space for that. So.
Which is good, yeah. We just need to be careful not to preclude the potential to add regular classrooms to that building at some point in time.
Right, so, and which we asked about, and Ryan was able to point out other areas, other parts of the building where we could add classrooms.
Well, you can go off the north side of that east wing a little bit, probably 4 classrooms at the most.
So they're just looking for permission from the board to pursue the grant to see if we can get it funded.
So after you get the grant, will you then go and talk to, say, like a local architect or something, so he can take the existing building knowing that classrooms need to come out, you know, to do like a mock-up of what it could look like? Okay. Yeah.
Part of the grant funds the different drawings.
Okay.
And this is one of the first grants I've seen since I've been doing this that allows you to build things. There's grants out there for supplies and resources, but I went, oh yes, maybe.
I do have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, you can hear me. Thank you for actually finding a way to help build onto the school without a cost to the district. My question would be, what will happen if the grant funds won't cover the cost of this expansion? I mean, do you have a backup plan for this, or is it going to be we don't have enough and hopefully the district covers the rest?
We haven't, honestly, Chairman, we haven't talked much about that.
Okay.
But that would be a point where we'd bring you guys into the discussion, because we also wouldn't want to turn down $2 million if that's what they gave us. So that would be my initial response to that.
We do
Is that going to be your application?
Yeah.
For 4.6 mil.
Yeah.
I will also add to that, we have an advisory board that we have worked with for the last 5 years, and they all have access. You know, they've been very supportive, saying, what do you want? What do you want to do? How can we support? And that means financially. And we are starting an alumni or our parents are starting an alumni chapter for our chapter, FFA chapter. So we will have both of those as potential resources. I think, at this point, we need to see what they're going to say about the grant, and then approach it from that point and say, okay, now we got to. It'd be great if we can just say, here we go, we're ready to roll. But that would be the plan B as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, perfect.
So you're just asking for approval to move forward with the grant writing and just sort of seeing it.
We just didn't want you caught off guard when you saw $4.6 million grant.
Yeah.
So.
And also that you're comfortable with their plan for that money, what they want to do with it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's lots of opportunity to evaluate the plan and all that kind of stuff if you get the grant. That's the first step, I guess, is to get some funding in place, and then go from there.
Shoot for the moon.
Yeah. Good luck.
Well, Jackie Duran is a force of nature.
I know that.
Yes, so.
We've known each other for many years.
Long time.
Yeah.
When Jackie wants something, she finds a way to make it happen. So.
All right, do we have any more discussion on the ag education expansion at Timberlake High School? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Is this, oh, this is it. Okay.
Yeah,
I move to approve the ag education expansion at THS proposal to go out for bid, or go
For the grant.
apply for the grant.
Second.
Hearing a motion in a second, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Go for it.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you. We'll keep you in the loop.
Thank you.
Well, I love you guys.
Brandy, I like how you said it would go out to bid, so it's just done.
It was a slip.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, moving on to the supplemental curriculum. Do we have any questions or discussion?
I would like to ask Assistant Superintendent Asley, the Young Writers Program, is that just the worksheets or is it something else?
It's actually something that she wants to do, like an after-school kind of tutor program, and it is the worksheet, but the idea is that she's just promoting writing. There's a group of kids that want to write, and so she just wants to help them.
Okay.
And then the Prentice Hall literature, if you guys would like to see it, it is here. It was here. We have a couple people that came to view it, but if you want to check it out, it's there.
This was the one that we had to hunt down on the internet, right?
Yeah, it was the one that we tabled at the last board
Yeah.
meeting because we didn't have a copy of it and you couldn't find any reviews. And so I just put that line in there that I have a paper copy. And I think 3 people came in to view it. They checked it out for a couple of days.
Okay. And what was the feedback that you got?
It was positive.
All
One
positive.
person's in the audience if she'd like to speak up. I read it. Anita.
Anita. Well, like I told Lynn when we were just talking, a lot of it is stuff that I actually read when I was in high school. So it's just a lot of the old short stories that those of us that are my age were exposed to and did lessons on.
So there weren't any concerns raised.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? How are we using the Gilgamesh the King book? Do we know?
This is actually new. They asked if they could use it as the literature study just in one of the classrooms, so. Again, they felt like it was a high interest book.
And the Young Writers is basically just an after-school thing. I noticed that the premise, I don't know how many other people caught that, but the whole premise of the thing is mindfulness. I don't know
For
if
the
people
young
understood that, yeah. To, you know, and because the only thing that, when I read it, was if we're teaching children to ignore that little voice in our head, you know, sometimes that little voice in our head's nice to listen to because it keeps us out of trouble. But the whole premise and the whole platform and introduction is to ignore that voice, and I forget what they called the critic voice. They have names for all the voices that we hear in our head. That was the only thing. I get the understanding of why they were trying to do it, because they want the kids to just put their idea on paper, don't worry about, you know, the critique and all that. But to teach an elementary child to ignore the voice that's telling you, that's not, because the examples they gave were things we probably want kids to pay attention to.
The idea is that running mantra that kids, like, I'm not good at math, I'm not good at writing, so I'm not gonna try because I'm not good. The idea is that just put your thoughts on paper and then we can wordsmith, we can craft, it's just getting them open to, you know.
Right, yeah, and if that's all we would say to them, that would be great. I don't know why we always have to go
further.
Yeah, it's like,
right.
stop. Yeah, but that was my only concern was, I think it's very important that we pay attention to the little voice in our head that tells us not to do certain things, or maybe there might be something wrong with that.
You have to be careful with that. Some people hear voices and they do odd things.
Yeah, well, and that's all based upon the observer.
This is just writing.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, is getting thoughts on paper.
Yeah.
And not assuming it's a bad idea.
I didn't have any more. I mean, I get the concerns that that were voiced. The day and age we're in, I don't know, we're trying to find, I mean, look at the book we had to go find. You know, used, one of a kind, so that we can have curriculum that is not full of all this stuff. And I think our staff does the best they can with the tools that are afforded them out there without, you know, everybody's input. But I appreciate everybody's input and all the time they take to give us the feedback, so that we can make a decision on these. But do we have any more discussion on any of this?
Move to approve the list as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, on to parental rights resolution. So this was something that actually was in the works for quite a while. It started, well, it first came to light, I guess, at policy committee, but it's something I actually started writing months and months and months and months ago, before the law expounded on the parents' rights that they already have in the state of Idaho, and I just now got the ability to finish it, so that's why it's coming now. And I thought it was fitting, given that November is technically recognized as Parents' Rights and Education Month. And anyway, so that was the point. It was just a matter of putting on paper what we already say, what the law already says, and reassuring the parents that, you know, they're still parents. We have the jobs that we have because they send us their children. You know, and, you know, just saying, yeah, we hear you and we, you know, we agree, kind of thing. That was the premise behind it.
So this was an in-house creation?
It was, yes. Yep.
One of my questions.
Yep.
You trust us with your kids, so we will, we are honoring your rights
Yep.
as a parent.
Yep. So is there any discussion on the parental rights resolution?
I have a confession.
Okay.
I wholeheartedly agree with the 2 resolution paragraphs. In all honesty, I didn't have a chance to read all of the Idaho code
Sure.
citations
Sure.
that you have in
Yep,
there.
yep.
So I'm a little bit at a loss with that word.
Yeah, yeah. Most of it is, well, it is direct verbatim,
Yeah.
and it was written around, a lot of it was written around what the statute already says. You know, whether it was, once they passed the new, because there is 2 actual parental rights acts in the state of Idaho, and once they passed the new one, then I had to go back and update it, so that was another reason, you know, that it's coming out to, but. Is there any further discussion or questions anybody have on it? Nope. Okay, since there's no further discussion or questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I will move to approve the parental rights resolution.
Second.
Hearing a motion in a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All of those opposed?
1 abstention.
I
Are you,
voted aye.
okay, in favor? Okay. All right, so we have 4 ayes and 1 abstention. Okay, moving on to the proclamation of the Parental Rights Month. Again, this is sort of a known thing. This was not an in-house creation. This was sort of an in-house tweak, I'll say. Because it is recognized by other school districts. Same thing like when we do well, it used to be Dr. Seuss' birthday and the reading. I usually introduce the resolution every year for that. It's basically the same thing. You know, here's a resolution, again proclaiming that we agree that November will be Parents' Rights Month in Lakeland Joint School District. Any questions, discussion? No. Questions, discussion? Nope.
No, I think it looks great. Thank you for taking the time to put this in paper or on paper so that we will have it for our parents, just to remind us that, you know, we represent them and that we are protecting their rights and education for their children.
Okay, there's no further discussion or questions. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Hearing a motion in a second, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, moving on to the project list, the procedure and protocol. Oh, this must be the one that's my notes. That's the one I wrote that this is a living document. Oh, and that was the other thing, and I thought about this for the other protocol. And I assume this was probably written using Google Docs for it. Okay, so it would be probably nice if number one we put page numbers on it, but if we started using the footer as part of a quality control, we can add in the footer automated fields for the last time it was touched, who touched it, when it was printed. So when we look at the document, we'll know that it has since been updated, and it'll automatically do it. Like, we won't have to remember. You know, so basically what we would be doing is putting in the footer what we can go back and look at the history, but it's just a good quality control thing so that when we get it or whoever's looking at it, we know. And I can help or give an example of what I'm talking about, but I thought since we're getting all these protocols and all these different things, that we should maybe have a little bit tighter quality control on protocols and procedures that way.
One quick grammatical
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
correction. It says when awarding the bid, the following will be including instead of included.
Thank you.
That's not good.
Thank you for catching that.
I do have a question. When do we not require a performance bond?
That's a good question. I just know that it didn't happen, and so I want to make sure that it's in writing that it is going to happen.
That it's just part of the checklist.
Yeah, normally we should.
Right.
I mean, it's a
Okay,
very,
so I guess
it's a very small
my
project.
question is, why are we saying when appropriate? If that standard process is to have that performance bond, then we just need to have the performance bond.
We won't technically need it for smaller projects. So if it's under $50,000, we don't need it. If it's over that, it depends on the type of project, but the state statute says for the surety bond. So I will look
Okay.
into that. I think it's in one of our policies, but I'll look into it and make sure that we have that information in there.
Okay.
Okay, is there any further discussion, questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion for, or do we need to? Oh yeah, it's action, sorry.
Move to approve.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
I hear a motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Alternative authorizations.
These are both pretty straightforward. So I would move to approve.
Second.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't see the one on there. Okay. All right, I did read that earlier, sorry. Okay, hearing a motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, on to the University of Phoenix MOU, which was really interesting.
It was really confusing. I don't think I understand what agreement we are assigning. It just talks about assigning an agreement, the agreement. We're assigning the agreement to, what agreement are we assigning?
Yeah.
I have no idea what this is for.
Student teaching, I believe.
Nowhere does it say that in here. Anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know what the agreement, I didn't even know we had an agreement with the University of Phoenix.
We probably don't.
We don't.
We do with the University of Idaho, though.
Yes,
And
I think
the
this is.
University of Phoenix is being purchased by
Right.
the University of Idaho.
So we would assign that same agreement. It doesn't say that in here though. If it referenced what agreement we were talking about, sure I might.
Well, down here where it talks about the agreement will continue in full force and effect after the closing of the transaction being that purchase of Phoenix by University of Idaho.
I understand that, but
It's
it
not- it
doesn't
is
say
not
what
spelled out.
agreement
You're right, it's not
that
spelled out.
I'm agreeing to, assigning to them.
Yeah.
If it said what agreement it would be, then I'm just not.
Shall we say
So
that.
if they would like to clarify the language, we could probably
Right.
Yep,
take another look at it.
yeah. What I think they're saying in this is, we did have an MOU with the University of Phoenix for the placement of student teachers. And this is basically conveying that over to the University of Idaho. is how I'm
Or to
reading
this nonprofit, and the nonprofit is, it's not actually the U of I is not named in the nonprofit, the principals of the nonprofit are U of I council, the director of finance and something, and
The regions.
the
of
vice, yeah.
So their administration.
Right,
So
yeah.
we don't have any pending interns with the University of Phoenix, so we can wait for that whole transaction to be done and just work through the University of Idaho. There's this, they were just trying to update what we already have on
Yeah.
file. So
So,
I would move to deny this MOU. Or table it until we had like specific information.
Yeah.
okay, so I have
Second
a
the text.
motion to table.
Second table.
Okay, second the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Okay, hearing none, the motion carries. We're gonna table it. All right, winter athletics schedules. Any discussion, question?
Yes, I'd like to ask when we get these schedules, I mean, we get a link to the link, to more links, to more links. Is there any way we can just either someone print those pages off and scan them in?
Yep.
Or have one master roster that just shows everything? Is there a way we can do that?
we can print each one off and just scan it in so it's one long PDF with all the schedules. That's easy to
Okay.
see.
That would be great.
Okay.
Because it just seems like when we get the fall, it's a sheet of paper that says everything, but now we've got links upon links upon links, and those drive me crazy.
If I could do it by calendar, it might be easier.
So should I submit those by PDF instead?
I think I can print them from,
Okay.
I can do it from the way that you have it.
In the meantime, I would move to approve the winter athletic schedules.
Second.
Heard a motion and a second, all in favor?
I
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, surplus items for disposal. It was like the whole school.
I thought the exact same thing. That's exactly what I thought.
So, yeah,
There's
we have-
enough desks
Wow, are we
for
moving?
900 students. That's
These are
That's
the
cool.
desks that are currently being stored in dry box containers. So by being able to surplus or dispose of those desks and chairs, we would actually be able to consolidate some of those storage containers and get rid of them.
I do have a question or two.
No, Bob.
When you surplus something, you assume that it no longer has any useful life in the school district.
So in
And
this,
my question is, are we saying that all of these student desks are so bad a shape that we could never use them again?
No,
I
they're
don't think so.
yeah, no, they're actually in decent shape, but we every one of our classrooms is fully outfitted, and we don't need 900 more desks.
a lot of the teachers have gone to tables, gone away from individual desks and gone to tables. So the desks had to live somewhere in
My
their living room.
long-range concern is.
Oh,
the
I
obvious
totally
one.
get it, yeah. If we have to build a new school, we're already,
Or if you end up having to outfit a classroom or two that's already existing, we don't want to hear about, let's purchase some more classroom.
would you recommend we could leave a percentage maybe behind that we continue to store?
We had talked about maybe maintaining three classroom sets of desks, so that
Yeah, I
should.
can understand maybe picking out the best and keeping that,
Yep.
disposing of the other. but I just don't wanna be in a position of, you know, a year from now, you know, we have
Now
a
we
big
need
influx
to
of
run out.
kids, and all of a sudden we gotta run out and buy a bunch of furniture.
Yep,
I understand your concern.
we had that conversation.
Okay.
We're on the same page.
So the request on this would be to be able to surplus or dispose of them with the taking out 3 classrooms worth of the best desks that we have.
Yeah, well, of course, there's some other stuff in there too, besides just,
Yeah, lockers and batteries and a washer and dryer set.
The washer and dryer set will be disposed of. With our ARP homeless funds, we're outfitting washers and dryers at several of our school sites. We're replacing the washer and dryer at 2 school sites.
Okay.
Have we gotten that approved from state funding yet? Yay.
Yes,
Okay,
we
good.
received the
Good,
funding, or
good.
they received the approval on our request.
Excellent.
Any more discussion?
What color are those lockers?
That's a great question.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Does it change your determination?
Well, I might need them for the rest of
Or
them.
not?
They're
So-
probably not green and gold.
Yeah, they're, they're gray or something, that's fine.
They're Timberlake Middle School, Timberlake High School.
So they're probably blue.
Probably blue.
Blue.
You can paint them.
Okay.
Right, okay.
you know, that's where, I don't know, you might ask, that's something, that sometimes a few of those lockers are handy in those lab situations that we're talking about creating out the Timberlake.
But if my understanding is the building admins have had that discussion within their buildings. They're not of use, which is why they're looking to surplus them. There are a couple locker sales companies that will actually come in and buy them from us. So if approved, we would look at either that route, or if it's not, it doesn't make sense to go that way, we'll put them up for public bid.
Yeah.
And this is only 2 banks of lockers, so I'm sure that they kept the ones that they would need or they want.
Yeah.
Because this is only 2 the high school ones anyway, is only 2 banks.
Well,
It's 159 stack lockers at
that's a
Timberlake
lot
Middle
of
School.
lockers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a lot of scrap,
Mm-hmm.
even if they weren't usable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will entertain a motion if anybody has one, or do we need further discussion?
We'll trust your judgment. I move to move forward with the surplusing of the items, less what the administration identifies as potential future need.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Alright.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? None? Abstentions? None. Motion carries. Alrighty, strategic planning committee questions, surveys. There was a
So-
lot.
Yeah, so further down in the agenda, there's another strategic planning item, because the strategic plan is the board's plan.
Right.
And so, in every strategic planning process I've participated in, the full board is in attendance, because you have to make sure that whatever this plan looks like is aligned with your vision for the district. So we started the process of just, how do we gather some information from the community, so that when we bring the full committee together with the board, we have what we need to be able to write the plan. And so, these were some of the questions, and I did not, in the minutes, there are pictures and there are all the questions. If there were some that were asked the same question 3 different ways, I just put it on here once, but
Okay.
I didn't pick and choose which ones I thought were good. Everything that was written from that group of people is on here.
Okay.
And the intent for this is to send out on a postcard to every household in the district, so that the last time we did this, it's been 10 years or more. And that's where when I say 67% of our community doesn't have direct ties to our district, it's 10 years, that date is 10 years old. So I think it's time to get a better sense. Our community has changed, and so it may be 75% of our community is no longer directly tied to our school. We don't know. But they're going to be the ones voting on bonds and supplemental levies and different things to support our 5-year, 10-year plan. And so I thought it would be good to get some feedback from them as we're writing the plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a good move. I would have to share with you, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with some of the questions. The way that some of the questions are worded, the questions are appropriate. And I'll give you an example. One of the questions asks about whether or not we should keep small schools. But we're not defining what that is. A small school in one person's mind might be 300 and another might be 600. So, I would suggest revisiting that, maybe revamping the approach to that. Either saying small school is less than X number, or maybe giving a couple of brackets or something. I don't know. There's 2 or 3 different ways you could approach that problem.
Yeah, I didn't wordsmith any of the questions from the group, so that's why I wanted your feedback.
Yeah.
So I can do that. So define what small schools are.
Yeah, I would suggest you spend a little time revisiting all those questions.
Oh, I will.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to see what they were looking to ask and make sure that you were comfortable with the gist of the question, and then
I wonder what the relevance is of whether.
Well, I think maybe the board.
Delay.
Okay, I heard him start talking, so I just thought I'd not. I think it would be beneficial for the board if we can get the dates worked out or whatnot for the strategic planning meetings for the board to attend, that the board should be brainstorming what information is that we actually want to solicit from the public. I mean, if you're looking at sending this out to every community member, potentially group.
Froze. You froze.
Grouping the questions in a way so that if, it's applicable. Uh-oh, what happened?
You froze. Again.
Froze again.
And again. Yeah.
I'm all chatting away. Can you hear me?
We can now. You froze on
Okay,
us.
well, can we just table this and deal with it at the meeting?
So are you making a motion to table this until this?
I'm making a motion to table this until the first strategic planning meeting that the board attends.
So we have a motion to table this until the first strategic planning meeting that the board attends. Is there any discussion?
Does that meet with the kind of timeline, time frame that you were thinking of?
I don't think it will take us very many meetings once we, the first meeting would be then actually wordsmithing this and creating the mailer, and then we would meet again after we had the mailers or the batch.
Results.
Yeah, and I want to do a QR code so that people can do it right on their phones instead of giving them a link to a website. People won't take the time to do it that way. And then we can use the input from them to start to define what your goals are. And when we met, we were talking about, typically we've had 5 areas on our strategic plan, and currently we have some areas that I don't know make sense for our community, but what they're consistently concerned about is curriculum, school safety, finances, facilities, and just lost the last one. But I don't think they care about leadership. And that's one of them right now.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think they care about leadership. I think they care about principals, and I think they care about admin, and I think they care about the leadership
Right, and
of the district.
I don't, and I guess I didn't say that right. When you're looking at the goals,
Mhm.
it's, they're supposed to be overarching, like 5 pillars that kind of hold up the whole.
Right.
Because, within, and we can talk about what you want those to be, but within each of those, some of those other things, instead of a standalone, falls into one
That
of the
other
other
category.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it was a standalone, so there weren't great goals written
Yeah.
around that, so anyway.
I'll second that motion that's lingering out there.
Yeah, I was gonna get back to, I'm trying to find when that date is on our
It's not, because
calendar.
there's an agenda item tonight for the board to decide
Okay.
when you want that to be.
Okay, so we have a motion to table until the next strategic plan meeting, and they have, second? Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None? Any abstentions? None. Motion carries. Okay, moving on. Assignment of the new subdivisions to elementary attendance zones.
The Long Range Planning Committee met, and what we're trying to do is get ahead of people buying houses and determine to which elementary school those kiddos would go prior to parents actually moving there. And what we were trying to do was, because when you look at the different subdivisions, they're all either in Garwood or Betty Kiefer attendance zones for the most part, and so we tried to find an area where we could move some Garwood kids to Twin, and an area where we could move some Betty Kiefer kids up to John Brown, and so those are reflected in the recommendation. And then if the board approves this, we would notify the Realtors Association, so that when they're selling homes in these subdivisions, they're giving accurate information about to which school kids would go.
So these aren't existing students. This is future, when they move in, here's what it, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just trying to be a little bit proactive.
Yeah, great, I think it's perfect. So my other question is, I know that we had talked a while back about the city sending letters, they send it to all political subdivisions, is there any impact that you foresee, negative, positive for new subdivisions? And I think we did like a blanket statement or something, I don't remember what we decided on that. And then we have the spreadsheet we were working with for a while.
We still have we're still using that same spreadsheet, so anytime we get a request for comment, the letter that Jessica writes is linked right in there. So you can see it, it's the standard comment every time.
Yeah, and I think we need to move away from the standard comment every time, and I'll tell you why. Because for us to not say we pre-planned this, we're already busting at the seams. For us to continually tell them, no, it's no big deal, we're fine. We're not neutral. We cannot remain neutral, because where are we gonna put everybody?
If they're asking for a comment and we have more to say than just, oh, that's good.
Right, yeah, I think we need to, it would be, my opinion anyways, that, maybe we look at each one, or just come up with a blanket, that you already said, no, it's gonna cause, 250 more students are gonna have to go here or there. Because here's the thing is, if the city is never hearing from us, or any of these entities, right, never hear from us that, no, this could put our numbers that much more over, then they think we're fine. I had a couple of planning and zoning people ask me about that. Well, we never hear anything from the school district. It's like, well, no, yeah, we're full. So anyways, you bringing that up, I think maybe we need to look at case by case. That would be my, or whatever the board.
Sometimes we're on a time crunch when we get it.
Yeah.
They'll realize, oh shoot, we forgot to talk to the school district, and it's Monday and they're due Thursday. So maybe
We need a blanket
we could
statement.
just have
Yeah.
that's something the board's comfortable with, and then we'll just use that.
The other aspect of that is to have some direct contact with the P&Z people in each of the entities within the school district, be it the county or the cities, and make sure that they understand they should have something from the school district that is the developer when they come before the P&Z people. If they don't have that, then they're not complete.
I think they're doing that now because Jessica and I just had to go through a way to get signed into a site at the county level, so that we can provide our documentation to them. So that was new just recently. And then at the last meeting, we did have Athol and Spirit Lake city representatives there to go through their the areas
developments
where,
that are coming into those cities.
Yeah, because I mean, I know for us, we have to educate the kids when they show up, right? I mean, either way. But I think that we really need to start communicating to our communities that, hey, hello, we really are full. Because here pretty soon, we're going to ask for a bond. I mean, I don't know how else we're going to build a school without one.
Right.
But if we all along, we've been saying, oh, we're good,
What is interesting right now, though, and so the other thing to keep in mind is, if you look at our enrollment at the elementary level, it's dropping, and what's saving us is Lakeland High School is really the one school where the enrollment is going up. So we're down. We started the year at 130 down. We're 100 down over this time last year. So it'll be interesting to kind of watch, and that was part of the conversation we had, is if this truly is related to the housing market, we might see this continue for a little while where our enrollment is declining instead of increasing, and declining enrollment is bad for our school district. So I think we have to have a couple of letters that fit the scenario we're in, because I don't think we want to say no to growth if we're seeing a decline in enrollment.
Yeah.
So, just something to consider.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. The message we would want to send is that when we have growth, here's the dollar impact that it very likely would have on the school district. And I'd be happy to work with you a little bit. I've done some of that in the past.
Okay.
Alrighty. Is there any more discussion? I'm sorry, took us down a rabbit hole there. Related, but a rabbit hole. Okay, if there's no more discussion, I'll entertain a motion for the LRPC proposed elementary attendance zones.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. It was a motion.
Was what?
A motion to approve and a second to approve the assignment of the new subdivisions to the new elementary zones.
Okay. Nay.
Okay. All right, motion passes. Okay, John Brown conveyance.
So this is just the quitclaim deed that we'd already done once that didn't get filed, that we agreed we were going to complete.
I'll get it.
I don't recall. I don't recall the part about the easement from before. And I think it's appropriate that we reserve that easement. But my concern is that it has a reversal clause that says if we cease to use the property as a school, then the easement reverts back. The concern about that is if you own a piece of property and you decide you're not going to use that piece of property anymore and you're going to dispose of that piece of property, and you have access to that piece of property via an easement, but that easement goes away when you sell the property, now suddenly you have a whole new issue in trying to sell the property.
I don't remember anything about the easement. I do know in the paperwork that we do have, it does say that if at some point in time we're not going to use the property for a school, it reverts back to the city.
That's the John Brown.
Yeah, but I don't remember.
See, and I can't tell from the legal description. They didn't provide a map, so I don't know where that easement is. Exactly.
The initial one that was signed in 1965 says the city agrees to grant easements to the district for any necessary ingress or egress across John Brown Field.
There you go. So there is no reversal of the easement.
It does have a reversal clause.
Oh, it does.
But specifically to the easement, it wasn't a 40-foot easement. We would have access to the entire property during school use hours.
Right, but this specifically talks about if we stop using it as a school.
And that's in there too.
Yeah.
On the agreement.
So can you clarify that again? Yeah.
Well, I don't know for sure. I'm thinking the easement that they're talking about is where we drive into the bus lot area.
The bus loop area over there?
Yeah, I'm thinking, but I'm not 100% sure. Because we're deeding over the property for the ball field, essentially. And if you, again, if they provide us a map, it'd be easier to figure that out. But I think that property extends out into that drive area. So it's appropriate to reserve the easement so we have a right of ingress and egress. But I hate to give that away forever.
But I don't think, is that what it says?
Well, if you...
Because it says, as long as we continue to operate a school on the adjoining parcel. As soon as we don't.
What school?
John Brown. It's on the adjoining parcel. Well, I guess it could be Lakeland Middle School. So we need that clarified.
That's my concern.
Okay.
If we get some maps, I think you can probably figure it out. But the way it is nebulous out in the area, up in the air.
Okay, gotcha.
And go ahead.
The document that we had before had legal descriptions, but yet they've resurveyed it. Has anyone compared the description before with what we have now? I mean, what was wrong with the old legal descriptions?
We're required with the county to have a new survey.
Why?
I don't know about that, but okay.
The initial legal descriptions were done in the initial agreement that we have from 1965. Actually this one was done in 99. I believe some of the names have changed a little bit, so I can compare them. I don't have to bring that.
And I will work with Emily, with the Rath City, she's the attorney for Rathdrum, to clean this up so that we are clear on.
And that reversion clause, in my mind, needs to go away, otherwise I couldn't vote for it.
Well, but I guess if that is truly John Brown, the other document that we do have does say, and it's our document, that if we ever stop using that as a school, it reverts back to the city.
Right.
So that's basically what this is saying, is if we wouldn't need it, why would we need an easement there if that wasn't our property
But
anymore?
once again, I can't think of a place where there would be an easement to the John Brown off of that ball field property. that we would need.
Right.
Unless it's the bus lane on the backside over there.
Okay. I'll
Looks like it goes on the map. Looks like it kind of cuts off. And it looks like it's right on the edge of the ball field. So the bus barn is on the other parcel.
Is on our
Yeah.
own parcel
You
anyway.
see that, Bob?
The line is
Sorry.
right here.
Okay.
So you're not really giving
The
up the
question
bus
is,
barn.
where's the 40-foot easement?
Is it here?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Could
we'll
be.
just have
You see
them
the easement.
verify
Because
and
that's part of the
clarify.
drive area for the middle school.
Clarify where that
Yeah.
easement is.
So I'll just ask her to have a map that accompanies this, and then I'll ask her to attend the next board meeting to answer
Let her know that her
questions.
zip code is wrong too.
It is?
At the top of the page. 85858.
Oh. I will let her know that.
Sorry to be problem with that kind of stuff, but I don't know real estate.
Oh, yeah,
it's
nope, we
important.
have to make sure we know exactly what we're doing.
My uncle ended up owning a city block off of a survey. Yeah, and the further it went down the block, the more it was in the other guy's yard. And whoever had the most money won the lawsuit. Yeah, it's very important. And like Bob said, if they remember here a few years ago, there was being talk of turning that into admin buildings over there. Well, that wouldn't be a school anymore.
No.
Right.
You
So
know,
if we're not using it as a
Right.
school,
right,
we can't, it's not our property anymore.
right.
I bet it's this right here. Because there's no information on it.
All right, so I will
That corner?
entertain a
But
motion.
that's not Cooper Field, that's not part of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh,
See? Click on there and that goes to that. That's the field.
Do you need more
the other
discussion?
end. I thought it was-
No, I would move to table the John Brown conveyance.
This is a weird line.
Pending more
At this
information.
time.
That's all I'm wondering.
Pending more information, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
What was the motion? To table, okay.
Yeah, pending more information. Okay, motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Attorney rates for 2023.
I think they're going up by $50 an hour, if I remember.
So are we approving their raise, or are we approving continuance with them as our attorney, or what are we approving?
Basically, yes, if we're not okay with the rate increase, then we're making a decision that not to use Lions O'Dowd.
Do we not have a contract in place with them?
I don't believe so.
I think so.
It's just,
We
We
used
do not
to.
have a new contract in place with them.
Yeah, not a new one, but we used to, yeah.
And the rates have gone up, I believe $75, because it was below 200 that we were paying. I think it was 175.
It was just significant enough that I felt like we needed to bring it to the board to make
You're
a
absolutely
decision.
right.
Yeah.
And, have we given any consideration to seeking other legal counsel?
Are you making a motion?
I'm asking the question at this point,
We-
but I might.
We have.
We use Anderson, Julian Hull, Amy White, and for sometimes, and sometimes we use Megan at
They're out of
Boise.
Boise.
Mhm. We just sometimes we get more comments.
And their rates are just as expensive,
Oh, yeah, I understand.
if not more. We no longer have a benefit of using them because we're not affiliated with ISBA. It would behoove the board to find alternative legal counsel that we can just have all encompassing for the board and the district.
I'm sorry, Lisa, as far as down in Boise, Amy White, That is, if we have something that goes through our liability insurance through
Yeah.
ICRIM, we actually end up having to work
Right.
with them.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's just through ICRIM.
Right.
But
And I can confirm that, the current rate for Lions O'Dowd is $200.
Yeah, so we probably just never got notice of that. But everybody's rates went up, I think the NIC just went through this too. Yeah, but everybody's rates.
Well, it looks to me like we're confronted with a situation, as long as we continue to use them, we're gonna pay the higher rate, whether we approve their higher
Right.
rate or not.
Right,
So it seems to me like if we're not real happy with the higher rate or not happy with their service, we should begin to investigate other legal counsel opportunities.
yeah, I would agree with that.
We can certainly do that. One of the issues we ran into when we entered into the relationship with Lions O'Dowd is there aren't very many local attorneys' offices that specialize in education law.
Right.
Yep.
In fact,
And I know that, but there are a small handful of them.
I think we interviewed this company, one other from Fort Lane area, and then we interviewed Anderson, Julian, and Hall from Boise because we didn't find any others locally. But that was 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So it is under an action item.
No, no real action is required.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Unless you want us to put out an RFQ to see what other options are available.
well, that would be a separate, I mean, we can approve
Yeah.
approve this and also provide guidance to,
Look around.
yeah.
yeah. Well, any of us can do it. If we know somebody, you know, we just throw a name in the hat. But yeah, I'll entertain a motion, whatever the board would like to do.
I will move to approve the increase.
Do we have a second? So the motion's been made to approve the increase.
So if we don't approve it, does that mean we don't have to pay it?
I think it's allowing us to continue to use them at the higher rate.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Begrudgingly,
Aye.
aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
Nay. Okay, 4
Okay,
ayes
you can't
and
make
nay.
any phone calls to
Yeah.
Any
I changed my vote.
any direction out of that?
Well, we just need to start looking around and see. I don't know.
Point of verification, would you like to go out to an official proposal for qualifications for attorney services? We would have to publish that.
Do we want to go out for a formal published RFQ for legal services?
Well, I guess what I'd need to know is if we're just doing it here in Coeur d'Alene. I do know that there's other attorneys that are in education law throughout the state. So, and I don't know, isn't there like some place where you go and for the school district, I don't know what it's called. I'm sorry, I'm really tired. I'm 3 hours ahead of you people and I got adjusted to it. That you go and you get your services or something for like a discounted rate.
Oh yeah, the co-op.
What's that thing?
The co-op?
Was that the co-op thingy? Do they do lawyers?
I don't
no.
think Idaho has a co-op. Washington does, but I've never heard of a co-op. Have you? I've never heard of
Yeah,
a co-op.
Brian used to say he would go to.
That's the state purchasing contracts.
Yeah,
They
what-
do not allow
Okay.
for legal services under that.
Yeah, whenever he was always
He was
going.
like,
Oh, you're talking about the
Good to
piggyback
know.
thing, yes,
Yeah.
that he talked
Yeah,
about.
we can't piggyback on a legal contract, unfortunately.
Okay, okay. It may behoove us to do the RFQ,
Yeah,
just to see if there's any interest from any other firms that may have, qualified attorneys.
was that good clarification for you? Okay, all right, thank you.
She's like, ugh.
We're going out for RFQ.
I suggest the yellow pages.
All right, calendar revision.
Yeah, so last spring when we brought the calendar to you, the principals of 2 high schools really liked the idea of the seniors ending their year a little bit earlier, and that's allowed in the law. But then as they started kind of thinking about the year and putting it into implementation, they realized that there's going to be a loss of instructional time that they really don't want to have. So that week, that would have been their last day, is the week that we do the mock car crash. It's the week that they get their caps and gowns and they get to go to their elementary schools, and then they would have to do finals that week. And so they would prefer to go back to our more traditional last day of school for seniors on the Tuesday that Timberlake High School graduates. So it's just a
June 4th.
Yep, just a reversion back to what we typically do.
So what is the, what is the difference in the calendars?
So-
What was the day before?
So what the board approved was that Friday before June 4th.
Okay,
So I think that was May 31st.
So there's 2 days difference.
okay,
Yeah, it's just basically putting those 2 days back.
okay. So after the Memorial holiday, they'll have to come back to school
For their finals. Yep.
Okay. And has there been any preliminary discussion to parents about this, or was there no consideration? I mean, I know it's 2 days, but if everybody in their brain,
We did not put it out to parents. We certainly could. The conversation was, we're not sure if students even have noticed yet that they're getting out 2 days earlier than
Right.
everybody else has ever gotten out.
How does that work for, like, do they usually do their graduation walkthrough the day before?
Timberlake does it the day of, so they
So
do
they would
their,
have classes that day and rehearsal and graduation.
that's how Ryan's always done it, so.
Okay.
Which is why we moved it, because initially he felt like that was really hard. That was the whole conversation and why we ended up with the May 31st date. But then when he started looking at that last week for kids, he just felt like there's too much in there, and he wanted it moved back. So, and Jimmy was okay with either way.
I'm all in favor of maximizing instructional time.
I think some of the other concerns that was brought up was with them leaving, just before, having a weekend just before graduation. There was concerns about major, like if there's parties and stuff, and, amping up the chance that maybe they might not have some seniors show up before graduation. That was another concern.
yeah, my only concern is if parents have, like before, if parents have planned anything or what have you, that, I mean, granted, it's only 2 days, but,
2 days that encompass the Memorial Day weekend too.
Right,
So
right.
that actually.
Well, we're not changing the graduation dates, so they couldn't plan on much before graduation.
Yeah.
And we're not changing the graduation dates if this change takes place.
Right, they stay the same.
That all
Kind of
stays
a
the
moot
same.
question, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion if there's no more discussion, questions.
I would move to approve the recommended change in school calendar and year end.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
No, hearing none, the motion carries.
So I will ask the principals to send a Sky Alert notice to the senior parents to let them know of the change.
Good idea.
Yep. And just let them know there wasn't enough legally seat time or what have you was going on there. Alrighty, moving on to discussion items. So we have the immunizations. Looks like there was some change to the statute, and that's why it came to us. Let's see here.
No, actually, this was brought forward, but in reading through the policy, I do believe that there does need to be some revisions made to it. But this year, for some reason, we do not require parents to sign when they enroll and register their kids for schools, either providing their immunizations or signing an exemption form. And so this year, there was a Hail Mary pass at the very end to try and get everybody to get it all done before we had to report to the state. I do think that there's some misappropriate language in this policy that kind of conflicts with the statute, but that's why it was just brought forward, because I don't understand why we do not require parents to either provide the immunization records at enrollment or sign the exemption. I don't understand why we're not doing that at enrollment and making the nurses chase after these forms or immunizations at the very last minute for reporting. Which I think it needs to be clarified to the parents. We're not reporting who they are, who their students are, what they're vaccinated, any of that. It's just numbers.
Yeah.
So when I did ask that question, Michelle, and one of the things that the nurses shared with me is that when the kids come to register, if they haven't gotten their last kindergarten vaccine, but they have a date to go do it, they let them in, and then then they have to follow up with the parents to get the updated vaccination information. And sometimes the parents had it, but a lot of times they never went to that appointment and they didn't get the vaccine taken care of. So I agree with you. If what I would suggest is because the law says you must have your immunizations up to date to enroll and actually be in school, or you sign the exemption form. If we just ask them if it's not up to date, please just fill out the exemption form, and then if you go and get vaccinated, you can provide that to us if you want to, and we'll put it in here. You don't have to because you've got the exemption form on file, but in the event that we have an outbreak of whooping cough, if your vaccination record isn't in and you have an exemption form on file, you're excluded from school for 21 days until that is done. That's the one downfall of the exemption form, is if we have an outbreak, you don't get to be in school.
Yeah, and we did work with them and update when the statute changed the actual form that was being handed out to parents, because we updated the form and this, and it should all be right there at enrollment.
But they're not filling it out.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or they're saying, I am going to get them vaccinated. I'm not up to date. and the nurses are allowing them to go get that done, but then they have to chase them down, so.
Yeah,
Alright.
the statute actually allows for in process, but it's not, it's very awkward with the situation you're talking about where it's, they come in and say, well, they're in the process, but then they never bother to follow up.
Right. If you don't get the last
And
dose
so
of
then
a
we're
3-dose
left hanging out
vaccine.
there trying to scramble and
Yeah.
And
figure
we
out
had
what's
one
going on.
of our nurses was called a Nazi by somebody because she was trying to get a document, and so people weren't nice. It
Yeah.
would be nice if we could just take care of it on the front
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. Yeah, if we could move all that electronic, that would be great.
I think
So-
we can remove the section that says child admitted to 7th grade prior to 2011-2012 school year.
You
I
think?
think that probably helped them with the school.
I think that's probably the language in the statute, but yeah. Alrighty. Do we have any more discussion around this? So I guess it needs to go back to the policy committee and for updating. Alrighty, next discussion. Is there any more discussion on that policy or the vaccination? Okay.
No.
So moving on to the next, the strategic planning committee. This is where we needed to set a date, because today was the date. Okay. So, let me see here, I gotta get I don't have a calendar open.
December is going to be challenging just because it's December.
Right.
So we aren't in a rush. So maybe we look at January when we come back from break.
Yeah, that sounds good.
People have holiday things to
Look,
do.
there's nothing, if you look in board book, there's nothing on the January calendar. Okay, wrong account. So let me see what our calendar looks like.
So Thursday, January 11th, which would be the week of the board meeting, would work. Tuesday the 16th.
Is there any one day better than another day for anybody? Is there any one day better than another day for a strategic planning committee meeting for you? A day of the week?
Nope.
Okay.
Wednesdays are good.
Okay.
If we choose to do it Monday, I need it to be later, like 6:30. Thursdays, if we choose to do it on Thursdays, I need it at like 5:30.
Okay. Alright. So
Wednesday, I'm flexible.
Wednesday the 24th is wide open. You don't
Let's
have,
do it.
You don't have policy
Do it.
already.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So Wednesday, January 24th at 5:30? 5:30? Will that give you time to? Okay.
Yeah, 5:30 is fine.
Yeah. Okay. 5:30, January 24th for strategic planning.
And I will send out an email invitation to the community members who have volunteered to sit on that committee.
So 5:30 p.m. You said what'd you say, strategic? It was so cute. We were privileged enough to where I sat at other veterans celebrations at some of the other schools, but we did Apple Elementary. And the one little girl was up there one student reading her paper, and she was doing a great job, and she thanked all the veterinarians.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah. And the adults were so gracious. Nobody said a word. Everybody just sat, and then they're all,
Mhm.
it was so cute, yeah.
Perfect.
Thanked all the veterinarians.
That's awesome.
I thought it was
I
great.
went to Timberlake High School and middle school
Yeah.
assemblies, and they were awesome.
Yep,
They did
my
a
husband.
great job.
Yep, shook all the little kids' hands,
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, all the veterinarians. Alrighty. So that ends. Is there any more discussion on the strategic planning committee date?
Nope.
No. Okay, so that will end our regular meeting. I'm going to ask that we take a 5-minute break before entering executive session.
Do you have any board member input for a future agenda?
Yeah, is there any board member input for future agenda items? I don't have any right now. Oh, there is a reminder that tomorrow is picture retake at Betty Kiefer, 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Wednesday.
I've broken enough cameras over the years.
Oh yeah, it is Wednesday.
We were just trying to get all of our pictures out here
To
in
look the
front
same.
on the blue background. Yeah.
Okay.
I like being different.
Of course you do.
You are different.
Trying to grow my hair out again, so.
All right. So if there's no more input, then we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting.
Are we adjourning?
Well, we're taking a 5-minute break
Recess.
before going into executive
Yeah,
session.
recess.
A recess. Yeah, at 8:41 p.m.
Okay.
All right. It is 8:49. We're back from recess. I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session.
I will move to enter into executive session per Idaho Code 74206 1B.
Roll call vote.
Who seconded? I'm sorry. Okay.
Give it to Bob.
Either of them. Whoever you wrote down first.
Chair Thompson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Grissom,
Yes.
Trustee Jones,
Yes.
Trustee Bain,
Yes.
Trustee Quimby.
Yes.
All right. We will enter executive session.
And then
You're good.
Okay, so we're coming out of executive session at 9:22. Is there any motion?
I would move to approve the resignations of personnel 11.13.2023A and personnel 11.13.2023B.
Second.
We're in a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? None. Hearing none, the motion carries. And that will.
Trustee Grissom?
Yes.
Hold up, Trustee. I do have a point of, I guess, concern. When we accepted the resolution,
Yes.
it stated that it was supposed to be a roll call vote, and we did not roll call vote.
Okay, you're right. It should have been a roll call vote. That was the resolution.
Parental rights resolution.
Yeah. We can do a roll call vote. So if we move back to item J3, parental rights resolution, which was accepted, we had 4 yeas and an abstention. So we'll do a roll call vote for, because it was a resolution, it should have been a roll call vote.
Chair Thompson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Grissom,
Yes.
Abstain.
Trustee Bain,
Yes.
Trustee Quimby.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there anything else before we adjourn? Nope. All right, we will adjourn at 9:24.
Yay.
Good job.